thing I noticed that the border sort of has a face far south of the border. And for example, when you're in Oaxaca, you're talking to people who speak almost, I guess they've traveled into the United States sometimes decades before. It sort of gives them status in their home village. They describe their travel stories in more detail than their actual being in the United States stories, yet they sort of have an affection for the United States, which, even as difficult as it is sometimes an easier life or a richer monetarily life than down in places like Oaxaca. You also use the phrase, "This is the oddest frontier I've ever seen," which is interesting since you write about frontiers a lot. So what dynamic makes this place so unique? And how is there any way to differentiate between the kinds of migration and even smuggling that comes across that border?
The uniqueness of the border is that on one side, there's a country where the per capita income is extremely low. And the other side of the border, 10 feet away, just through the door of the fence, is a country where the per capita income is huge. So the difference, I don't know another place, maybe between Russia and China, maybe between, I can't think of another country. I mean, if Japan was part of the mainland, maybe, it would be Japan and Vietnam or something like that. But in general, the disparity in income and achievement, or financial success is so great between the United States and Mexico that it's this huge disparity that invites people. It's wealth is a magnet, prosperity is a magnet. A person coming from a place where there's a leaky roof and no school and no medical facilities, something like that. It comes to a country where these are available. Or, you might say, where there's work. Now, there's work in Mexico, but it's very, very poorly paid. Even the NAFTA companies are pathetic. That's a big con on the whole. So, I've been through, across the border between Kenya and Uganda. I've walked across that border. I've walked across Ethiopia and Kenya. I went across from China, Vietnam, that many, many borders, Burma and Thailand, India and Pakistan. I've been across. But when you go across, although there's a difference and probably different language and a different culture, still you're not going into this dramatically different economic situation, and that's the situation that exists. So it's a temptation. It's people looking through a fence and seeing life that's immeasurably better. And it even draws people from Africa and from other countries because it's a border. It's not hard to get to Mexico. And once you get to Mexico, you go to the border. So it's as though we're living in a gated community called the United States. And outside the gate is, generally speaking, poverty and neglect. And that draws people to the border. But I'm not judging the border. What I was trying to do was just describe the border. It's not a political book, but when so many people are talking about, not just Donald Trump, but many people talk about immigration and borders and the border as it is, I thought, I want to see it for myself. And that's, I could say, the reason for most of my travel. I've been traveling for more than 50 years, and it's always about, I want to see it for myself.